Oh, welcome everyone. Kev, are you excited for this interview?
Let's go. You didn't tell me who it is. I'm sitting here
I
waiting.
did tell you. Don't
Okay,
act
I
like you don't
know. I
know.
know.
I first got to give thanks to a gentleman by the name of Muscle and Fitness, who's in. Well, I can't give it away yet, but he knows who he is. He got me in touch with this person. Hard to get a hold of this guy for sure. He's in the green room right now. He's like a recluse, man. He's like J.D. Salinger, man. You can't get a hold of this guy, you know. So I really got to give him thanks. It was just amazing. Stringer Films, thank you for the $2 super chat. He's you $2. I don't know. What is he saying? Always Stringer with a crazy
I have
super
no idea.
chat.
I think Stringer's drinking early tonight.
To lose. I don't know.
You
Anyway,
two
thank you,
dudes.
Stringers. Thank you, Stringer. Other than that, Kev, I could say we bring him right on, but
Let's do it. Yeah.
well, there's one thing. I don't think I can do him justice
Okay.
by bringing him on. So I'm going to let somebody else do the intro.
All right.
Kev, are
Let's
you ready
do it.
for this, guys?
Yeah, let's go, guys.
This is who will bring him on, and hopefully this rings a bell to the guy we're about to
My next guest stars in a fantastic film called The King of Kong. This is a great film. I've seen this film, The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters. It's out on DVD January the 20th. Take a look at this.
I think the energy kind of picked me up. I was feeling kind of like a zombie in the middle of the game. But towards the end, I got, a little bit of a natural rush going from the crowd and the excitement. So that kind of boosted me and put me over the top to complete the game.
Kill screen kick.
This is the highest Donkey Kong score done in public.
Please welcome Steve Weeby, everybody. Steve Weeby.
Well, that's right. We got Steve Weeby.
Steve in the house.
Wow,
Great intro.
Steve, does that ring a bell? Do you remember that?
I totally remember that. And the other guests on that show was Sylvester Stallone. I walked right by him when I was coming on.
I know
Funny.
he said I watched the video and he's like, Sylvester Stallone was on the show, and I was going to ask you, did you get a chance to shake Sly's hand? Did you?
I did, just briefly. I just said hello to him, and I was on the stage. It's kind of funny that he was on there as well. He had a green shirt on too. I kind of matched him with the colors.
Well, Steve, it took you 17 years to finally make it on the Rexer Show. Now you've made it big. You went from Craig Ferguson to the Rexer Show. You've finally done it after 17 years. But
yeah, excellent.
That was actually a great interview, and it was actually funny. There were some funny clips in it. It was a little too short, but I was just surprised. I mean, Craig Ferguson is hilarious, and he seemed really interested in the King of Kong. Like, he was into it.
No, yeah, he did great. I mean, I was nervous, but I remember he knew about the movie really well, and he was asking good questions, and I had a great time. It was funny.
Yeah, well, I want to say a lot of people in the chat
They're going
are
nuts right now.
Super impressed, going nuts. Cheers, Mr. Weeby. These guys love you.
Cheers, everybody.
Great
And
guest.
like I say, you're kind of a quiet guy. It's hard to get a hold of you. Am I wrong? I mean, do you hide out for the purpose of not having to do these interviews?
No, I don't purposely do that. I'm just kind of in my own little hole in the wall, I guess. But I'm happy to do these when they come around. They're very, very cool to do. So
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. All the people in our kind of realm here, we love gamers, we love gaming. The people's champion, as Realm Chat says.
People's
That's
champion.
right.
For sure.
Guys, we got some fun stuff for you. We will get into a little bit of the King of Kong later. But I gotta tell the story. Okay. I'm watching a movie maybe 4 or 5 years ago, Steve. I'm watching this movie and something comes on, and I had to rewind it 5 times and go, wait a second, I'm going to play this clip. And I got a lot of questions for this one.
Sure.
Okay? I got a lot of questions. Hopefully this is the right one. Let me play it.
And this is Courtney's husband, Jim. Take Jackson. Oh, isn't he so good with kids? Yeah. Can you believe we're going to...
Now, Steve, you were... let me hide this real quick. You were in the movie 4 Christmases.
I know. I couldn't believe it when I was asked to be on it. It's like crazy. I was there for a month.
Wow.
I would take time off from school. I was teaching 7th grade and 8th grade. I had to take a month off, and they granted me a month off, no pay, and I got to stay in some place in Hollywood that was Cary Grant's. I supposedly lived there at some time. It was kind of weird. I got this place for myself, a rental car, and I drove all the way around to the various places where we were filming. A pretty wild experience.
Well, I mean, I kind of read that the director was the same director as King of Kong or something like that. Is that how you got cast?
Yeah, Seth Gordon directed King of Kong, and then Vince Vaughn, who loved the movie The King of Kong, he wanted Seth to direct Four Christmases, and then I think either Vince or Seth thought it'd be a good idea to bring me in as a cameo. I didn't speak a word in the whole thing. If you haven't noticed, I think I was sleeping in one scene. I was sleeping.
Yeah, hold on. Let's get this super chat, Kev, from Stringer. Huge fan here, Steve. Thanks for joining us.
Thank
These guys,
you.
They know. Thank you, Stringer. These guys appreciate it 100%.
Steve, what controller did they give you to hold in that scene?
I was going to ask
What is that? I couldn't tell.
I don't know if it's a Nintendo. I don't know.
Was it fake? I mean, you were just faking like you're playing something? They had some gaming music.
It was Donkey Kong in the background. If you
They
listen.
actually had Donkey Kong game on there, but I don't know if they probably overdubbed the sound later, which they mostly do on those. But I was actually playing a Donkey Kong game.
That's hilarious.
That is so funny. Let me show the rest of there's probably a couple parts I'm missing, but let me show the rest because you're in this one part here off to the corner.
So wait a minute, hold on a second. You're telling me who's that?
That's Kate.
That's not a boy named Bjorn?
You're like kind of
you're just sitting there.
You're sitting there like looking at the thing what's Vince Vaughn like? Did you get a chance to talk to him?
Not much. He was like kind of doing his own stuff, but he said hello, and I thought I'd be able to talk to him more, but I talked a lot with Kristen Chenoweth and Mary Steenburgen.
Oh, nice.
I was hung out with them most of the time, like eating lunch every day. The craft food services are awesome. You know, these big buffets, you walk through there and get all the food you want, and we hang out and eat lunch together. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, Show Me Retro says Oscar-worthy performance. Oscar-worthy.
Yeah.
Did they cut out any other clips maybe that you were in or
no?
Okay.
The one funny thing about the one I was sleeping in, I remember I was when I was sleeping, I think Reese Witherspoon said, "That's method acting right there." She kind of was making a joke. It's kind of funny.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, that's great. That is a story forever there. Kev, we got another one. Tell us what you came across. You want me just to show the picture first?
Steve, I think this is even bigger that you were hanging out with Adam Sandler and crew for the Pixel movie. That's insane. And this picture is amazing. We want to talk about it. Look at this, guys. Look at this.
You got to tell the story.
Wow. How cool.
Yeah, that was a great time too. It's weird, like with these movies, Seth Gordon will just text me, "Hey, do you want to be in another movie?" And this wasn't one that he texted me on, but I got an email from some casting director. It said, "Hey, can you make this movie, The Pixels?" And I originally I think they had me planned to be the guy in the arcade that was doing some kung fu pose. I think if you watch the movie again, you'll see there's a guy with a headband or something. And I couldn't make the dates for that, so I became a scientist. And the funny thing is, I filmed me in this room where there was a droid or something, and Josh Gad came up and grabbed the remote, and he started moving the droid around or the drone or whatever you want to call it, and it went into a bank of computers, and there was all these sparks and everything. They had all these fireworks going off, and I thought the scene was going to be in there for sure, but they cut the scene.
Yeah, that's.
But I was in the credits. I was like,
yeah.
Somehow I got in the credits. I'm not even in the movie, but yeah, Adam was great. I mean, he was. We played basketball 2-on-2. It was me and him against another couple of guys that are in the. I can't remember his name, but he's in a lot of Adam Sandler's movie. He has the wandering eye. And he was Adam's assistant at that time. I don't know. Someone might know his name, but he's been in a lot of those movies like Grown Ups and He has like a wandering eye in most of the movies. I don't know if you think of that guy.
I know. Not Rob Schneider.
No, not Rob Schneider. It's another guy. But we played 2-on-2 basketball. It was pretty funny.
Nice, but your scene got cut, right, Kev? The scene got cut.
Yeah, that's what I was reading, that they didn't put it in, but you still have the memories.
Yeah, the memories last. And then another thing that was kind of awkward is like, I didn't really know Josh Gad much, but Josh was like saying, "Hey, how you doing? I'm a big fan of yours," or something. I don't know if he said "big fan of yours." He goes, "Yeah, me too." And he looks at me, and goes, "No, that was a pause. You don't even know who I am, do you?" But he was being funny. He was being funny about it. It was kind of funny, but I felt a little weird. But
Adam Cal, we got to get this super chat here. Thank you so much,
back,
Adam.
Steve.
Welcome back, Steve. Cheers. Cheers.
Thanks, Adam.
Yes. Thank
so
you very much.
who they want to know who won the basketball game, Steve?
Me and Adam won.
There you go.
Yeah, he was a post player, and I have a good outside shot. And I was hitting.
He's got a good outside shot.
Yeah, he has a good outside shot too. But I was like, I can't play inside as well as he can. So, he was posting up. He had some good moves inside, and he'd kick it out to me if they double teamed him, and I'd hit it or at least make a few shots. But that was a good time.
Okay, we got Jonathan Lugran is the guy with the crazy eyes.
Right? That's the guy. Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you very much, Stringer. And somebody else said it too.
And, somebody else said it, I believe.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Steve, we'll get into. Wait, before I go on, because this acting stuff is actually almost more important or interesting than the King of Kong and the Donkey Kong.
It is.
What else have you done in acting? I didn't check your IMDb. I don't know if you've done any more.
There was the Goldbergs pilot episode. I was like in the drive-in, and Pops, they call him Pops. He drove the car, or one of the kids drove it into the actual drive-in, and they have me before he actually takes it out. I'm like taking their order or something. I think I don't say anything again there, but there's and I think I have a little rat tail from the 80s. They had those little rat tails people that have. Funny. And I was in another one, Identity Thief.
Oh yeah.
But another, I didn't get quite my scene. That I thought I was going to be in wasn't in it, and I took a bunch of friends into the theater to watch it.
No.
And I think maybe my reflection was in a mirror. I don't even know if I was actually in the movie at the end, but that was kind of funny. I thought, hey, everybody, let's go watch this movie. And,
yeah, that happens to a lot of people. They think they're in like a TV show, and they're like, I'm going to be in this scene, and then the scenes get
never
cut.
tell you.
So I learned not to say anything to my friends after that.
Yeah.
I was also in Horrible Bosses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The very opening scene.
Well, that's got what's his face? The same character, Jason Bateman. Yeah.
Jason Bateman. Yeah. He was cool. He was every time there was in between scenes, he was on his phone talking. But I didn't get. At one time, he did say like, "Hey, there was a Donkey Kong mug."
Kill screen.
That a Donkey Kong, like a mug that was on the desk. I was a security officer, and he mentioned something. Oh, that's an ode to Donkey Kong, because he knew that Seth was directing. Horrible
nice.
Well, okay, we had a question. So you have your SAG card?
Yeah, I had to get. They forgave it for the first couple. They didn't make me get it, but eventually, when I started going into more and more, I had to pony up and pay the like $4,000 initiation due.
Wow.
Wow.
But then it's only a couple hundred every year after that. But you get your card and you can get in any movies that Seth asked me to come into.
Yeah. So you think we'll ever see again? Is he gonna do some more movies?
Maybe. There's another one that's coming out that I did a scene in. I don't want to say which one it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you guys, because again, I don't want to spoil it. Maybe I'm not in it now. But I can't be too.
We'll look for you.
We'll look for you. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I know what I wanted to ask you going back really quick with the Craig Ferguson. They brought a Donkey Kong into the room for you to play. That was weird.
It was back. Yeah, I think it was backstage while all the other guests were on. They were having me play, and I got like the 600,000, I think it was.
Yeah, which is still great, but
nothing record setting. But
yeah. Well, and that's the thing about Donkey Kong is like people think, oh, here, play and you can break it.
Yeah.
It takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games before you get that one. that will put you over the top, where you get all the breaks and the barrels go the right way, and the fireballs go the right way on the pie board and the on the rivet board. But anyway, we'll get into that in a second. Let me ask you now, what are you doing now? Are you still teaching? I'd like to figure out, what you're gaming. Are you still gaming? Are you still teaching? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm teaching high school math.
Okay.
And I've been teaching now 20 years. When the movie documentary came out, I was like a long-term sub when I was when they showed me in the classroom. I wasn't a full teacher yet. I was like a substitute teacher at that time, but that was 20 years ago now, almost. Yeah. So I think I got like 5 years left before I can retire. I'll be 60, and I think I want to do something different than teach all the way up till I'm 65. I don't want to be grading papers on the weekends for forever. But maybe you
can get some more acting gigs.
Maybe I'll go into the acting.
We got a super chat from Stringer Films. How did you not punch any faces while filming King of Kong? And we're going to get into this a little bit, because how frustrating that whole ordeal would have been for somebody who thinks that, oh my gosh, the cards are just stacked against me. Teddy D, my score is 968,000. But what's your high score now, Steve?
I did a 1,106,000 something, I think. A few years ago when COVID hit, I was like, the school shut down. I was able to do remote learning, got some games out in the garage and played a few. And I just wanted to get to 1.1 million. Robbie Lakeman was one of the top gamers, and I was just talking to him, and he's like, at least do 1.1 million. I go, okay, I'll just do that. And then I was streaming a little bit on Twitch, but then I haven't done that much lately. So 1.106 million is my.
So you're streaming on Twitch then?
I was a few years ago, but all the equipment's been taken apart. I'd have to set it up again.
Yeah.
So
do you still have your garage? The Donkey Kong.
The garage has got still the Donkey Kong machine in there.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that the only arcade you have?
It's the only one.
Okay. You don't have any arcade one-ups? I got to ask you, what do you know about arcade one-up? Do you know anything about them?
I don't know anything about
them. Good. You don't want them. They're these 3/4 scale junk replicas that this one company makes. We won't even get into
Never
it.
heard of them.
Okay. Good.
I gotta clip that, Kev. We gotta clip that.
That's funny.
All right. We got to talk about your musical talents really quick, because I looked you up on YouTube trying to find you, and thinking that I was going to see a bunch of Donkey Kong play or whatever. But everybody knows you're a talented musician. Tell them about your YouTube channel, what you do.
Yeah, I've been posting a lot of YouTube. I make these music videos, and they're instrumentals. I do have some vocal music, but I don't sing, and I have to hire a vocalist. And it's more work to have to work with somebody and coordinate schedules and he charge you money for it. So I started doing instrumentals. So I have 4 instrumental albums, I think, coming, and I have another one coming out in a minute, in a little while.
Wow.
So I just make them on my home studio. I play piano and drums, but everything is a virtual library. The samples are so convincing nowadays. You can have bass guitar, electric guitar, acoustic, piano, flutes, violins, saxes, and everything's sampled, and it's really done well where it's convincing. I know the purists don't like they want the real sessions, and believe me, if I had dollars to pay a session musician in the studio time, I would do it that way. But I make this music.
What are you laying any track yourself, like the piano, and then going from there and laying the other tracks?
Well, I lay all of it, down with on a keyboard, and then I trigger the samples that I want to have it trigger. Okay.
And then you auto tune everything, and
well, everything's really tuned well because it's a sample.
But
I can make the time perfect, which I shouldn't make it so quantized, they call it, because it.
Well, you should sing, then auto tune your voice, and then then
if I could sing at all, I would, but it's really not. I've been cursed.
Well, we'll leave a link in the description after the show to his channel. Go there, and if somebody can link the channel in the chat right now, one of my mods. What is it? Just Steve Weeby? You just spell your name? I can't remember.
I'd have to. I think I would know my own YouTube channel name. It has a picture of me on the a small circle picture of me at the piano raising my fist, like the victory that I do on the King of Kong. But
okay.
Yeah, if you
we'll link it. We'll link it in the description after the show. People are going to watch this after. All right, another $2 from Stringer. Rex and I are coming to inspect your garage stream setup. All right, we're going to get into that. Good segue, Stringer.
Good. Yeah.
I want to let's lead into the King. Kev, anything else you want to get before we lead into the King of Kong?
No, I'm ready to get into it.
Okay. So, Steve, we watched the King of Kong, and we see that your score that you submit. I mean, the main purpose of the King of Kong is you submit a score and then it gets rejected, even though we'll say 100% it's legitimate score. Okay. And then I believe it's this dialogue comes up, and let me play this.
They would say that I somehow monkeyed with the board or something. But they wouldn't have any evidence. They looked at the board, they took the pictures of the board, and they couldn't find anything wrong with it.
The fact that the right gummy substance on the right chip out of all of these chips in the right spot on the right board. I mean, I have to say there's a conspiracy here.
Wow. Now, see, that would drive me crazy, because the conspiracy is between Twin Galaxies and Billy Mitchell at this time, which when we're watching that, that's what we see. But my point is, nowadays you show your board, right? You film it, you show the board, you show the controller, you submit your score, you have the video evidence. Nobody's coming to look at our boards here in the back of my machine and seeing a gummy substance. That was the reason for them excluding your score, but nobody could say what the gummy substance, what the chip, what the effect it had on the board. Can you elaborate on that whole story of the gummy substance and why your score was rejected?
Yeah, the only thing I can really say is I didn't really realize until I saw the movie that they were saying a gummy substance was the cause. I know that when I submitted the million, and me and Billy were both trying to break 1 million first. It was like a big milestone.
Yeah.
And when I told Robert I had broke 1 million, and I submitted the tape, then he said, okay, we'll review it. And then in a couple of weeks, he said that Billy Mitchell has also broke 1 million. And then he wanted to come out with a public notice that, hey, everybody, the 2 top Donkey Kong players have broken 1 million simultaneously. And, it seems weird. Like, how did they break it at the same time? And I was going to go along with it, but, Roy Schilt was shown in that clip there, and he was like, don't go along with that. He was kind of telling me like not to do these things. I was like, you're getting screwed over. So I said, hey, I don't think it should be simultaneously. I got it first. And then Robert goes, I guess, he did turn it in later, even though he said he had it for a year or so before he submitted it. And then a couple weeks after that, I didn't hear anything about my tape. And then those guys come to my garage. So you can put 2 and 2 together there. I was out painting for the summer. I was doing a paint job, like I was working as a painter. And I come in and these 2 guys are in my garage, and I was like, I wonder, do people just walk by my house and they look inside? And let's go in the garage, start playing. I thought there was just 2 random people. And then they told me who they are. And then it was Brian Q and Perry Rogers, who they say in the video. They didn't break into the garage. What happened is my mother-in-law actually let them in because they kept knocking, and she was saying, wait till Steve gets home. And then eventually she felt bad for him and actually gave them a quarter to play. It was what I remember. She said she gave them a quarter to play.
Funny.
So I didn't know what they were trying to disqualify it on based on, they came over and took it out and took pictures of the board. And then they must've went back and then looked at them further because they didn't say anything about a gummy substance to me at that time. And,
oh wow!
And then, so it's kind of weird how that all played out, but
yeah.
Steve, is it
Kev,
true
your
that
take is weird on the other score that was accepted? If you want to talk about that,
which
when they accepted Billy's score?
Yeah. So so then they say your score is gummied up, and you did it live, but then when you go to the fun spot and play it, then all of a sudden Billy flies a tape in secretly, and that tape gets entered immediately with no investigation, no research, no authentication. It was entered that night, and I don't think you even knew, right, Steve, as you were playing, that they were doing that right behind your back.
Yeah, I didn't know. I posted the 985, and then we had a little celebration there, as you see on the in the movie. And then I think I just went home. I didn't play another game. I think I might have hung out with the director and producer for a little bit, but I went, I had to get back. And the next day I was going to try to get $1 million. So I went home, and I think when I was at the hotel room, all that stuff was going on where they went in and entered it. It's kind of weird. Maybe it happened the next day because I don't know. I don't know when it happened.
Weird in the movie. They're like, "Oh, you want to post it? You want me to post it?
You want to post it?
Billy, yeah.
What are you saying, Billy?
It's legit. Boom. And it's like, wait a second.
A minute ago, you said Steve's wasn't legit, and now because Steve, at that time, did you realize what you were getting yourself into? The inner circle of like a bunch of people that controlled these scores. Because it looked like they didn't want to accept anybody but their own into this little Twin Galaxy scoreboard.
I had no idea what this group of gamers were like. Yeah, I was just trying to submit a game and get a score.
Exactly.
But I remember when I first submitted, I did a Donkey Kong Jr. score that was a world record, but unfortunately it was done with too many men because on the website it said you start with 5 men, which is wrong. It should start with 3 men, but I still could get the score anyways. But I remember Robert, I called him and said I got this score and was going to send it to him. He's like, do you know you can't use the trick where you jump off the screen to the left? There's like some weird shortcut. I think I've seen people do it. And I go, no, I didn't do that. So a lot of these people didn't believe there's like someone that could come out of nowhere that was good at these games. So I think they kind of had their own little club, but that was fine.
Yeah. All right, let me get to this $2. So you're saying Mr. Awesome spawned this awesome story. That's got that guy's nickname, Mr. Awesome.
Mr. Awesome.
Yeah, Mr. Awesome's awesome.
All right, I got to ask you some technical questions first about Donkey Kong, and this will go over some people's heads in the chat, but it's really important to me. When you guys were trying to achieve the $1 million, most people would get the kill screen at around mid 800,000s, 850,000. That was what the kill screen would bring. Mm-hmm. At some point, somebody said, and I'm assuming this is the strategy you used, if we pick up the bottom hammer on the barrel board, we can get more points. Who was the first person? Was that the strategy you were using to get 1 million points? And who said, was it you that came up with that? I'm going to start picking up the bottom hammer because I can get more points that way. Or did you use a different strategy to get 1 million points?
I don't know if I was the first to grab the bottom hammer for that because I didn't see what Billy was doing, but I thought of it no one else was like talking about it, whereas there was no one really going for that. So I go, hey, if I can get the bottom hammer, because I was thinking you can't get 1 million without the bottom hammer. You might get close, but it's really hard because you have to get lucky with the fireballs. Would have to be like 800 almost every time to get, they're random how much points you get for smashing them or a blue barrel. So I decided, hey, I think I went through the math and I thought, hey, this would pick me up maybe 1,000 more each board. And I was like going through it. I go, hey, I can get 1 million.
Yeah.
The problem when I first started doing it is when you lose the hammer, you can't just let it when it disappears. You have to be prepared to take on the barrels. So you have to be moving them down, steering them down the ladders so that when you have the hammer disappear, you're in good shape.
Right.
That you won't get killed.
The goal obviously steer as many barrels down and then leave a gap. Leave a gap when you're done with the hammer so you can get up the stairs without having to jump so many barrels.
Yeah, that's what I had to take. That took like a little bit of time to get that dialed in. And the other thing that the fireball that was beneath you, sometimes has knack to come up right when the hammers. Yeah, right when the hammers. Yeah,
you got to grab it right away. If that fireball's coming up the first level, you got to grab the hammer. There's no way around it.
Well, I do, but the players that started getting really high would let the fireball travel, and I was like, "How do you do that?" But it would. I guess they just were able to work around the fireball.
Wow.
Finish him.
Okay.
But I didn't do it that way, but so that's what I found that would get me over $1 million.
So point pressing. This is what was weird too. So Billy submits his score of 1,047,000 on video. That's a very hard score to get just by picking up the bottom hammer. Were you able to see his video and see what else he did in order to get 1,047,000? Was he point pressing at the top of the barrel board, or what? What was he doing?
He was doing it. Either I saw part of his video from somewhere, or someone told me he does, which the gamers now do a lot of. But I can go over what I saw lately. But at the top of the barrels, there's a ladder where the hammer is up at the top. And you don't grab the hammer, you just go and jump some barrels. You try to group them so there's 2 or so at a time, so you get 300 for jumping 2 instead of just 200.
So he was doing that in that video?
Not to the level of
like Lakeman and those guys.
Yeah, but then when I heard about that way, so regrouping him, jumping, I started, before I even saw Lakeman or anyone doing it, I started doing it a little bit like circular, go down and jump him again and come down. But I think Billy wasn't doing it that much. He might do it once, but he wasn't doing it to the degree that, the Lakeman and those guys are doing it. But
McCurdy,
Yeah.
All right, we got a super chat here from Arcade Talk and Star Wars Review. Happy Saturday. Thank you for joining us.
AT.
Arcade Talk, we got a big guest here. So happy Saturday to you too. Okay, Kev, you got anything? Because I got some other stuff here, but I want to see if you got something.
Steve, did you think it was like a disadvantage at that time? You were out there doing this live, and people were looking at your abilities and then adapting it to push the scores even further. Whereas Billy, you wouldn't even be able to watch his tape, if I remember right. You were like, "Hey, can I just see what he, see the tape?" And they were like, "Nope." But here you are playing live, so everyone can see the strategies, and it was getting back to Billy what your strategies were. How much of a disadvantage was that at that time that everybody saw your strategies and then added on to it?
Yeah, I didn't think of it in that light, though. That you bring it up, that makes sense. That maybe people are seeing me my strategies and not Billy's. So I really think that didn't cross my mind. I was just trying to demonstrate that I was able to get to the kill screen and hopefully get $1 million. But and then Billy did show his, like Brian Coos showed it one time to everybody.
Yeah.
But I was already playing Donkey Kong.
Yeah. Playing.
Yeah. And then you're like, "Can I see it?" And he's like, "No."
Yeah, one time only.
One time only, he said.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute.
What I gotta ask this because Show Me Retro, I know, asked this earlier, and I'm interested. What is your past relationship with Billy? What's your current relationship with Billy?
Well, during the filming, I never really interacted until when I went down to Florida for that Guinness tournament. Then I met him at the restaurant. A bunch of gamers went there, and he eventually did come in and say hello, and I met him there. But there was no hard feelings at that time, and never really had any negative interactions with them. And when we had the Kong offs, we were cordial to each other, shake hands, and ask how the family's doing. So, but actually, since the evidence that he maybe used a non-arcade game, I've kind of soured a little. I'm not upset at him, but it's just kind of, a little bit frustrating that if that was happening, that he was using, means to get his scores up there, which were illegitimate. But I haven't seen him for probably 10 years or so, because it was the last Kong off I saw him, and we were fine. I think there's a YouTube video of him and me. I had a student that his son was in the Army. I think it was Army, or it might have been one of those schools. But one of my former students was in school with his son, and then he made a poster of the student that I had, and I kind of almost forgot who the student was because I see so many students every year. But and then he gave me this poster, and we had this little thing together that someone was filming it. I think it's on YouTube, like a secret that Billy and I shared or something, that I had a student that went to school with his son. But since then, I haven't talked to him, but except he's probably not thrilled that I had some evidence against him in the latest case,
which we'll talk about in a second. But first, I got to show this one clip in King of Kong, because it just irked me. Okay, and I didn't understand what was going on here, and maybe it was just like an editing thing, or they wanted to play him as the faux pas. But see if you can remember this clip, and then maybe tell us what actually happened, what went down, why was he kind of so jerkish in this clip. Let me play it for you.
Hey, Billy.
There's certain people I don't want to spend too much time with.
So that was just a really bizarre interaction. You know, you say, "Hey, Billy," and then this guy basically ignores you for the sake of, maybe he doesn't want to interrupt your game, but he can still say hi. And then he says this to his wife that, "Hey, there's some people I don't want to spend too much time with." Do you think that was that written into the script? Did the director say, "Do that? Let's build up some animosity"?
I don't know. I didn't even hear that part of it. So, but I remember saying hello, and he didn't really respond because, I'm playing in the middle of a game. I would expect him to come up and start chatting to me. That would even be making it look like he's trying to throw me off my game more. So I understood why he didn't really stop by.
I always wondered if that screen was scripted, just like somebody wrote in the chat,
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think Billy denies saying that phrase. I mean, it's obviously his voice, whether they took it from some other scene and put it in. I don't know.
Well, he could have said, "Yeah, I don't mind talking to Steve. I don't want to interrupt him," but then he says, "There's some people that I don't want to spend too much time." You know what I mean? Like he could have prefaced it with, "I don't want to interrupt Steve here, but there's other people that I don't want to." That's why I always thought it was just really bizarre. And then, even when I talked, you guys were friends, afterward, no animosity in the beginning of that. So just really bizarre scene there. Kev, any other scenes in the Donkey Kong that you wanted to bring up? The King of Kong?
And Steve, it's so funny when you go down the rabbit hole of this documentary. There are 100 people that say it was completely scripted, completely fake. Then you have 100 people saying this is the most real thing. When you were on the set doing this, or in your day, were you steered in any one direction that, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you say that? Or was it basically, hey, you do you, Steve, play the game, we'll film what goes on around you? Because so many people think that some of the things that happened and was said is scripted at that time.
Yeah, they think, well, like when my daughter says, like people ruin their lives to be in Guinness, that's not scripted. She said that because I remember we would look at like Guinness Book of World Records, and the person with the longest fingernails, how do they live a life with that? And so those things weren't scripted, but some of the stuff like where I had a party before I left, I wasn't going to have a party necessarily, but they set up a party, which isn't, I mean, it's kind of like forging a situation where they can get some video of people interacting. So things like that. But they never said, say this or say that. They never told me to say anything.
Gotcha.
Good. Okay.
Nice.
We like that. It's more original, more authentic when you say that. So, so Steve, we only got a couple minutes left here. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do got to ask, recent events. I know everybody knows Carl Jobst and the lawsuits versus Billy, and how he was, accused of using MAME, and you brought it up a little bit, which is weird because people don't understand now, and obviously back then was a different time, but a lot of the record scores on, the Donkey Kong forum or even Twin Galaxies are marked by MAME, and MAME is accepted now. Most people use Wolf MAME, but whatever. They accept the scores as long as the right evidence is put forth and, continuous video and all that. But as the years went on, Billy kept denying it was MAME. He just denied. And one of his last hopes of denial was the fact that when everybody reviewed the tapes and saw this, and there's a whole video out there on this, guys, but basically to sum it up, a real arcade board displays the images differently than MAME displays the images in between scenes. Okay, so somebody identified the tape. They said, well, wait a second, MAME displays it like this, but the arcade board displays it with only half the board, and then they proved that Billy was using MAME. Billy's last final argument was, well, those tapes you got are copies of copies of copies of copies, and that's corrupted all the data. Now, what happened was somebody proved anyway that doesn't matter, the copies, but then they came to you and they somehow said, hey, Steve, do you have one of his original tapes of his 1,047 score? And somehow you had the tape that was a first draft copy of his original score. Tell us about how that went down.
Yeah, that tape I had forgotten that I had it because they gave it, the director of The King of Kong or someone in the film just gave it to me because they felt like, hey, Billy's been seeing all your tapes. You should have been able to see his score when they showed it. Here, take a look here. I think that's the tape they used to put together in the at the end of the if you got the DVD, there's like some extras in there, and they show my gameplay versus Billy's at the end. So I think they used some of that footage from that tape for that. And then, so I just had it, put it away in some box with a bunch of my other tapes, and just forgot I even had it. And then when all this stuff was going into court, Twin Galaxies, a lawyer called me and asked if I had any tapes. For some reason, they thought maybe you have some tapes. And I originally said, I don't think so. And then I went and looked at it, and I found something that was given to me. Then I go, yeah, I got this thing. And I sent it to them. And of course it had the girder finger on the screen. Yeah.
Over there.
Right here.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
There it is.
So this was like I don't know what they call the flaming
smoking girder,
smoking gun, the smoking girder to the video, because you gave him the tape, and that was Billy's kind of last defense. Like, well, nobody has an original tape, and that's why you guys can't compare it to MAME to arcade, and then you give it to him. And this was how long ago
that I got the tape, or how
gave him the tape?
Gave him? It was probably just within the last year.
Yeah. Okay. So Billy never said, "Hey, thanks, Steve. You just effed my whole case up," or anything.
He didn't say anything to me though. But I imagine he would probably think I doctored the tape because that's Steve Weeby. Of course, he's going to have a tape with that on there.
Yeah.
But did you even know when you were giving them the tape what they were actually looking for at that time?
I talked with the lawyer, and I knew all the stuff that you're talking about, all the visual evidence that they're trying to find another copy that had it, and that wasn't Dwayne Richard had, or somebody that was out to get Billy. So, but they might not trust me either, but I didn't doctor anything, but I gave them the tape and they found it. So,
nice. Okay, we got a couple super chats. Stringer, obviously, is Pauline the only girl those guys ever talked to? I'm sure he means the guys in the Twin Galaxies group. He gives him a hard time for sure. Thank you. And then Papa Brad's Gaming. Donkey Kong Legend interview. Awesome. The Rexer Show. Thank you very much, Papa Brad. I knew he would enjoy this, Papa Brad, for sure. He's a huge gamer. Spell good. Thank you. Let's see what he... epic guest indeed. Thank you for this, Mr. Weeby. I told you got a lot of fans here, Steve. You got definitely a lot of stands. No, we're not going to talk about that.
Nope.
But thank you, Steve. We don't have time. We'll move on from that.
Steve, I have a question. So when you look back on all these depositions, all these accusations, wouldn't it be easier if he just said it was MAME and just go play just like you did? I mean, at the end of the day, it's just about playing the game. And it seems like he was doing everything but play the game in the end.
To avoid playing the game.
Yeah, I don't understand. Steve, you did it live. You do it live. Nobody ever questions your ability. Billy has an ability, but it seems like he doesn't want to go down that path. Why do you think it would be easier for him just to play live than it is to fight these year-long court cases?
Well, I think he wants to give off the the image that whenever he walks up to a Donkey Kong, he's going to break the world record. He doesn't want people to know that.
Okay.
So that's why he doesn't want to go out and show them that you fail most of the time.
Yeah.
So he was trying to preserve that image that he was just walk up, quarter in, world record score whenever I wanted to do it. So
I got you.
that's why he didn't want to do it live, but he's capable of doing it. But I don't think he was the way he could. The way that I saw him play during the Kong offs, I don't believe that he was doing it. I believe that he was using some kind of MAME or something to generate those scores, because he would always. One time he called me on the phone when I broke. This is a thing that happened. I turned in the million, or I was actually close to being a million. I turned in like a 999,500 score.
Oh, geez.
And and then he calls me on the phone and he was talking to, hey, you've been playing some Donkey Kong. I go, yeah. He said his game was at some summer camp. He hadn't been playing. But then he said, if you turn that up score over 1 million, I have a score that will beat that. And then if you turn a score that will beat that, I have another score that will beat that score. So he's telling me they had all these tapes lined up. So it never made sense that he would like always turn in a tape that he would always stop if you ever watched his end of his games, he would always have a guy or two left and he would stop the game before the end because he'd get to a record and he would just kill it off.
Stop.
It's like I couldn't imagine, like, how can you do that? It's like that's so hard to get to that position.
Wow,
but
I never saw like the tapes to that magnitude. He just cut the stream or cut the video.
Yeah,
and be like, I just broke the record.
Well, he would get to a certain point in the game, and he'd put Mario over to the left of the oil can, and he'd die a couple times. But it was weird that he would do that. So I don't know.
That is very weird. I didn't see. That's the stuff you don't see or hear about.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because nowadays, Steve, after the game's over, you got to open up your cab. You got to show the right board. You got to show some of the chips. You got to show your joystick. You got to show all that.
Yeah.
And obviously there's been some other, the red joystick fiasco with that whole thing, because we all know that's not a Donkey Kong joystick, but he broke the game. He broke the record on some game with this crazy red joystick. So when it all adds up, boy, then you start questioning and going, okay, I can let one pass, not maybe two, but all these things, it's hard to keep giving him a pass for all these things that just keep adding up to, hey, maybe he wasn't on the up and up on some of these. So
yeah, it would have been nice to see, like, there was a record I got at Boomer's Arcade. I don't know if you heard about the Boomer's Arcade.
We're done. Sorry, go ahead.
No, there was a Boomer's Arcade. Hey there.
That's my buddy. That's my boy Chase.
All right, hey Chase.
This is always the cue, Steve, that we have to go when we're done.
Time to go.
He comes in. So I have an 8-year-old. Now your kids are older. Oh, geez, I'm gonna get killed here.
He'll be 28 before you know it. You gotta
exactly.
enjoy the time with him.
But all right, unfortunately, we don't have time for too many questions. Sorry, guys, we got to wrap this up. I told Steve 45 minutes, and we're over the time.
No problem.
Steve, hang on for 1 second. Don't close the window out. I'm gonna cut the stream, and I want to thank everybody for joining. Kev, thank you.
Thanks.
And Steve, thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Glad to be on.
Thanks guys.
See you, chat.